There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. May we be seated? Thank you. Thatha leli thuba sishaya umthetho saseMpumalanga sihalalisele Honorable Deputy Speaker Honorable Tabete. She's now Honorable Tabete Mfukeng. Statements by members. Are there any member statements? Honorable Makaringe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The African National Congress has learned with sadness and shock about the brutal shooting and killing of Comrade Muzi Mayat. Comrade Muz was the deputy chairperson of Hertsbande region and the PR councillor at the Mkondo municipality. He was shot and killed in the evening of Friday, the 4th of November 2022, at a filling station in Mkondo. Honorable Speaker, we convey our deepest condolences to the Manyati family and friends in this trying time and urge our law enforcement agency to act swiftly and ensure that they arrest these murderers. Loko va nga khomiwi swigevenga leswi vula swa ku na hina vutomi bya yena byi le ku xungetiweni. He was laid to rest on Saturday, the 12th of November 2022. May his soul rest in peace. I thank you.
Honorable Shongwe.
Ngibonge kakhulu Somlomo, ngibonge nesishukumiso esiphakamiswa ngumhlonishwa uDeputy Chief Whip of the Majority Party. Kuyiqiniso kakhulu, sishaqekile kakhulu, sibhlungu, sibambisene namaphoyisa uLieutenant General Manamela. Manje sithulile, asikathuli ngoba kungekho kwenzekayo. Ngifuna ukusho la kulendlu yesishayamthetho ukuthi kunezinyathelo esizilandelayo. Njengoba ngikhuluma nje namuhla ngitholile ibriefing, akusekude ukuthi sifike la siyakhona. Ngicela ukuthi abantu bakithi eMpumalanga babe neconfidence kithi no Lieutenant General Manamela. Sizomthola kungasikudala lo simfunayo uzosiyosikhomba ke lababanye asebenzisana nabo kodwa lo ngiyena yena siseyithendeni zakhe kungasikudala nje sizonikeza umbiko ogculisayo. Ngiyabonga.
Are there any member statements? Honorable Mkacho.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The ANC would like to commend the provincial government in ensuring that unemployment and poverty are eradicated. The youth is the hardest hit designated group in our society in the scourge of high unemployment rate. The evidence in the implementation of the Mpumalanga Youth Development Fund is one notable achievement, which seeks to caution the youth against the grinding effects of unemployment. Ms. Lungile Mkhize from Dr. J.S. Moroka Municipality, who established a poultry farm, is one beneficiary who specializes in chicken eggs production, processing, and packaging. She currently employs 10 people. Honorable Speaker, Mr. Mbali Sambo, who owns Polar Bricks Pty Ltd, is manufacturing bricks and supply construction materials to residential homes and commercial sector. His business created 15 permanent jobs and 4 part-time jobs. Big Eye Minerals and Energy is a company based in Krel. The company is managed by 4 young people, which provides minerals and energy industries with crushing and screening services. Currently employs 8 permanent employees. Mr. Fanyana Skosana, who is disabled, established Sianagegela Trading based in Steve Chwete, who provides multi-service solutions including construction, maintenance and transportation services across South Africa. There are many more who have benefited from the Mpumalanga Youth Development Fund. We want to applaud the provincial government in expediting its commitment in the fight against unemployment. Thank you very much.
Honorable Hlophe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let's welcome the statement from Honorable Mkhatshwa. We really appreciate that the Honorable Member is appreciating the work that is done by one of our entity through the Office of the Premier Fund that was allocated to the Mpumalanga Youth Development Fund that is implemented by MEGA. We really appreciate that we are making an impact as the Mpumalanga government through that fund. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mkhabela.
Yeah. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters to deliver a member statement. Honorable Speaker, this week the province woke up to the sad news that the parent of 3 boys who were allegedly raped at different schools are up in arms and suing the Mpumalanga Education Department for more than 40 million for failing to protect their children. According to media reports, lawyers representing the 3 families confirmed that letters of demand had already been sent to the Department of Education. Honorable Speaker, according to the lawyers' court papers, one rape incident took place on February 15 when a 6-year-old grade 1 learner at Sizofunda Primary School in Delmas was waiting for his transport where 2 grade 7 learners kidnapped him and sexually violated him. Honorable Speaker, according to the letter of demand, the parents are suing the department for 15 million for failing to protect the kid. In the second incident at the Plotorent Special School in Belfast, Mpumalanga, a 9-year-old boy was raped by 8 boys. In this case, the lawyer's letter states that the parents are demanding 10 million from the department for failing to protect their child. In the third incident, Honorable Speaker, a 14-year-old teenage boy was allegedly raped by 3 people while he was in grade 7 at Dikotelo Primary School in Memutlake within the Nkangala District Municipality. The alleged rape happened twice on the school premises last year. Honorable Speaker, the parents are suing the department for 15 million for not protecting the child. Honorable Speaker, these are shocking revelations indeed, and as much as we can't put the blame solely on the Department of Education, but we would like to make a call to both the Education and Safety and Security departments to seriously consider some sort of security measures in all our schools. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, if our government can provide security for our police and police stations, it surely can provide security for our schools. I thank you.
Honorable Majuba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let's appreciate the statement from the Honorable Member. It is true that it is quite abhorrent that children will have to be raped, especially those who are at school. We condemn that kind of a situation. And the challenge that we are facing is sometimes if these actions are taking place in schools amongst learners themselves, it becomes important that such should be reported as soon as possible so as we can have to come up with a consequence management kind of disciplines. But it requires the entire society to deal with the question of crime which is taking place in the country. And ourselves as a department will do whatever that is possible to make sure that the children are safe in schools. But we want to state that this is quite regrettable, and we are going to make sure that we deal with the issue when it comes to us, whilst at the same time we want to support the parents of those victims who suffered such challenges. Thank you.
Honorable Stolle.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise to deliver a member statement on behalf of the Democratic Alliance. The lack of scholar transport is severely affecting the future of our children in the province, as thousands are forced to either stay at home or cross dangerous roads on their way to school. Honourable Speaker, when I visited Tigwan's Nest Combined School in Dipaleseng 8 months ago, I was shocked to find children from grade R to grade 7 in the streets playing games in their school uniform because there is no scholar transport. These children are expected to walk 13 kilometers to school. Honourable Speaker, I traveled to Marifan Primary School in Tabachwe, and the situation is dire. Learners from Mashishing, Majenje, and Nkandla from grade R, aged 5 years old, are walking barefoot to school and are expected to cross an extremely dangerous bridge where 3 learners from Marifan Primary School have been hit by cars on their way to school and have died. The last accident happened on the 14th of June 2022 when a grade 7 learner, Clemens Rubaya, was fatally killed by a car on his way to school. Honourable Speaker, to date, nothing has changed for the learners of Tigwan Nest Combined School and in Dipaleseng, nor Marifan Primary School in Tabachwe. You know why, Honourable Speaker? The Department of Education and the Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport does not know what the other is doing, or dare I say, they hardly know what they should be doing regarding the provision of school transport. The DA asked questions to both MECs. Regarding the provision of scholar transport, and each department had a different answer, Honourable Speaker. Public Works answered that they rely on the Department of Education for information regarding the inclusion or exclusion of learners from scholar transport. The Department of Education says this information has been provided to the Department of Public Works and they should provide these learners with transport. Honourable Speaker, we can't carry on like this. This government is killing our children. Those lives that are lost cannot be replaced. You are robbing families of their loved ones. Honourable Speaker, this government needs to relook and overhaul the whole scholar transport system in the province as we are failing our learners and we are cutting their education and their lives short. I thank you.
Honorable Machuba.
I thank you once more, Honourable Speaker. Let's appreciate the statement from the Honourable Member. It is true that children are not supposed to be subjected to that kind of treatment, and we are going to make sure that we look after what the member has said and follow it up such that as speedily as possible, those children will have to be supplied with scholar transport. Together with the Department of Public Works, we'll sit down and make sure that we look into that matter and make sure that it is resolved as soon as possible. Thank you.
Honorable Weber.
Madam Speaker, this member statements is about my and my party's concern about the clean water supply in our province. And this member statement is meant to highlight the concerns we have. Now, Madam Speaker, with over half of its water supply infrastructure old and crumbling, Mpumalanga is losing millions of liters of fresh drinking water while municipalities fail to meet their residents' demand for clean water. According to the 2020-2021 Provincial Overview Report on Water and Sanitation Services, this situation has placed a significant strain on water supply and results in high water distribution losses that affects municipalities like Lekwa, Emalahleni, JS Moroka, and Tembesidiani. Access to sanitation services in Mpumalanga is below the national average of 82.1%. Millions of liters of water are lost due to leaks and vandalism, and where there is water, 71% of the supply systems don't meet the required safety levels. In the Dr. J.S. Moroka municipality, the community has been forced to take desperate measures as residents and clinic staff members resort to using pit toilets. The healthcare system struggles to stay afloat, and load shedding only added to the struggle. Even though most clinics have boreholes, the ongoing power cuts mean they cannot pump water. As a result, the day-to-day running of clinics in the areas has come to a halt. Family members and patients are forced to buy water to wash the patients since the water tankers in the area aren't functional. Medical staff have to wash their hands regularly, and the patients also need to be hygienic. While some clinics depend on boreholes, many depend on water tanker systems. Reservoirs are at their lowest levels, and vandalism and aged water infrastructure add to the problem. Old asbestos pipes often burst when there is pressure. It's time that the government strengthens its role in supporting and intervening in municipalities where water and sanitation services are failing, and to ensure that the building of new infrastructure like reservoirs is prioritized. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Let me remind honorable members about our rules. The statement is 1 minute, 30 seconds. Honorable Msibi, 2 minutes to respond to the statement.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Let's welcome the statement. I'm sure we must all acknowledge that water is a scarcity resource in the country, first and foremost. And secondly, the challenge we are facing, which we agree with the Honorable Member, is the question of aging infrastructure, and we're working with municipalities to address these issues. So we shall from time to time abreast the House and the member on the matter raised. Thank you very much.
Executive statements. I am informed that there are no executive statements. Motions without notice. Are there any motions without notice? Honorable Mahlang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to move a motion without notice on behalf of the African National Congress to commend the National Department of Transport, the Provincial Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport, and SANRAL in the completion of the Carino Interchange project, which costed 375 million. The interchange is the most important link between the Mbombela and Nganyamazana and will provide a direct link from the R514 route to the N4 National Road. The R514 also provides access to the Kruger-Mpumalanga International Airport. Noting that during the launch of the interchange, the Transport Minister showcased how public and private partnership within the public infrastructure development space benefit road users and local communities through the construction and expansion of the national road network. A total of 116,200,000 was spent on 44 local subcontractors, while 22,300,000 went to local labor, which included 236 males, 42 females, 143 youth, and 1 person with disability. The previous T-junction intersection was under pressure to handle the high traffic volumes experienced on both the N4 and R538, especially during peak hours, but now traffic is flowing smoothly. Further noting that confirming the local beneficiation was Mr. Richard Lukuleni,
a worker who said he benefited from the project because he was also able to put food on the table at home. He is a father of 4 kids, and working in this project changed their lives for the
A
better.
round up, honorable member.
He started as a temporary worker but later became permanent. We will continue to ensure that most of our projects are predicated on local beneficiation, and we would like to move that this House commend the Department of Transport and everyone that ensured the successful completion of the Carino interchange. I so move.
The question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion agreed to, as so agreed. Honorable members, let me remind you about our rules and orders. Rule 83, subsection 4, provides that motions without notice should not be more than 2 minutes. Honorable Mashego.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to move a motion without notice on behalf of the African National Congress to applaud Kruger National Park for their swift move in beefing up security at the park and its surrounding areas ahead of this festive season. Noting that this comes after several activities of crime were reported in the area that also include a shooting incident of a German tourist on his way to the park. The security system at the entry gate has been increased, and there will be more spot checks of vehicles inside the park, and in collaboration with nearby communities, teams have been established to tackle crime and conduct operations outside the park and nearby villages. Further noting that tourism carries the potential to create opportunities for entrepreneurs, develop the economy and breed a unique informal sector, and create economic linkages with, amongst others, agriculture, light manufacturing, and services sector. Speaker, the African National Congress fully support the good initiative by the park, as it will form part of a new security features, and it is said to be yielding good results in the fight against the perpetrators of crime in and around the park. I so move.
The question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion agreed to, as so agreed. Honorable Hlophe.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Good afternoon to the House at large. It's nice to see so many members of the ruling party, and then I also greet the Leader of the Official Opposition in absentia. I rise to deliver a motion without notice on behalf of the Democratic Alliance. Honourable Speaker, noting that last week eMalahleni and Mbombela were hit with violent service delivery protests as a result of prolonged power outages. In eMalahleni, the residents took to street, burning and looting shops and homes of foreign nationals because around 20,000 residents did not have power for about 3 weeks as a result of a broken transformer, and a turnaround time to fix the issue was reported to be 6 weeks. Condemning the looting and the violence which prevented many matriculants from writing their exams, I do believe, Honourable Speaker, that there should not be any reason for a big municipality as eMalahleni not to have the necessary replacement transformer which they had to occur from Mbombela local municipality, especially considering that it was initially reported that this repairs will take 16 weeks. Honourable Speaker, noting the negative effects of the looting in KwaZulu-Natal a year ago, especially on the economy and job creation, I call on this House to firstly condemn the looting and violence which is associated with this protest. Secondly, to ensure that this transformer is replaced as a matter of urgency, as the issue of no electricity will also affect matriculants who are writing exams in this town. Thirdly, to launch an investigation into the death of a 50-year-old lady who died after being shot, and for us to pass our condolences to the family. And lastly, Honourable Speaker, to ensure that as our municipalities are there to provide a service, make sure that they have the spare parts at hand. I so move.
The question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion agreed to, as so agreed. Honourable Zandamela.
No, thank you, Speaker. I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters to raise a motion without notice to congratulate the Mbombela Stadium management for securing 2 international friendlies for Bafana Bafana. And I know the ruling party will agree with me on this one because this somehow is going to boost the economy in the province. So we also urge our supporters across the province to make sure that they support these games, and hopefully Bafana Bafana will win this time. I so move.
The question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion. Agreed to? Also agreed. Is there any motion without notice? Honorable Weber.
Madam Speaker, I can't miss this opportunity. May I remind my fellow opposition parties here that there's only one party in this House fully represented today. That's my party. Now, Madam Speaker, I rise to deliver a motion without notice today. Illegal mining remains a concern in many parts of the province and is becoming a major threat to tourists and wildlife. It is alleged that heavily armed Zama-Zamas hide in provincial nature reserves and parks and are also involved in illegal hunting. These illegal mine workers have been a menace in the province's gold and coal mining towns. Towns such as Sabi, Graskop, Pilgrim's Rest, and Barberton draw illegal gold diggers, while Highveld towns such as Imalahleni, Ermelo, and Secunda are besieged as illegal mine workers search for coal. The Zama-Zamas, many of them foreign nationals from Mozambique, Lesotho, and Zimbabwe, have been accused of unleashing a reign of terror in the communities where they camp by using their dangerous weapons to commit crimes against the locals. The Freedom Front Plus wants to congratulate the Mpumalanga Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Semakaleng Daphne Manamela, on how she has clamped down on this scourge. In the past 2 months, more than 200 illegal miners have been arrested by the police. Last month, 6 alleged illegal mining kingpins appeared in court. They face several charges, including fraud, money laundering, and contravening the Precious Metals Act. However, this once again emphasizes the fact that large mines are not being properly closed and rehabilitation money cannot be touched. A data-driven investigation shows that more than 17 billion rand is being held in funds for the rehabilitation of mines across Mpumalanga. I hereby move on behalf of the Freedom Front Plus that these funds are now applied to these abandoned mines. Madam Speaker, please don't intervene if I say something nice about the governing party.
The question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion. Agreed to? So agreed. Notices of motion. Are there notices of motion? Formal motions. There is a formal motion on the order paper in the name of the Honorable F.V. Mlombo, the Chief Whip of the Majority Party. I have a speakers list in front of me. I will now call upon the Honorable F.V. Mlombo from the ANC. You are given 10 minutes.
Madam Speaker, the Deputy Speaker of the Provincial Legislature, the Honorable Premier, the Leader of Government Business, Honorable Mashilo, the Deputy Chief Whip, Honorable Makaring, the Member of the Executive Council, the Chair of Chairs, Honorable Mkachwa, Leader of the main opposition, honorable members of the provincial legislature, the guests in the gallery, comrades and friends. Let me first join the Deputy Chief Whip to extend our sincere and heartfelt condolences to the Manyati family for the brutal murder of Comrade Muzi Manyati a young, promising, vibrant, fearless, hardworking, and committed cadre of the movement. To his bereaved family, we want to urge them to get comfort in the fact that their loss is our loss. We wish them all the strength and the courage to can be able to deal with this tragedy. Honorable Speaker, we are called upon today to debate about the impact of drugs and crime in our provincial economy and to debate about the possibilities of a collaborative effort amongst all political parties across ideological differences to fight against the scourge of drug abuse and crime in our province. As the African National Congress, we believe that it is possible to have a drug-free Mpumalanga. It is possible for political parties across ideological differences to collaborate and work together in a fight against drug abuse and crime in our province. We do so, Honorable Speaker, because we envisage a country where the people living in it will feel safe at home, at school, and at work, where the people will enjoy a community life free of fear, where women would walk free in the streets and children will play safely outside, where the police service will be well-resourced, where we have professional and highly skilled officers who value their work, where police will safeguard the lives and property of our people without discrimination, where the right to equality and justice will be respected. That is the Mpumalanga and the South Africa that we envisage as the African National Congress. Drug abuse and crime is a problem not only in our province, but across the country, and not only in South Africa, but across the globe. Drug abuse is a cancer that destroys the young and the old, the poor and the rich. Drug abuse destroys lives. It destroys the future of our children. It destroys the future of our country. It holds our country captive to drug lords. It cripples and destroys our economy. Drug abuse, Honorable Speaker, it's a societal problem that needs the collaborative effort of communities, of civil society organizations, and institutions that fight against drug abuse. There is, Honorable Speaker, a dialectical link between substance abuse and crime. It is estimated, according to statistics, that 60% of the crimes committed in South Africa involve the use of substance. The law enforcement agencies in our province should in fact be congratulated for their resolute stance and fight against drug abuse and crime in our province. In this regard, let me congratulate the Honorable MEC for Safety and Security and for Community Safety, Security and Liaison in our province, Mpumalanga, Honorable VR Shongwe, for being the best performing MEC in the country, for having been recognized by the Minister of Police for his sterling performance. In order to prove my point, Honorable Speaker, let me indicate that on the 29th of August 2022, during the occasion of the release of the 2022-2023 first quarter crime statistics, the Minister of Police had this to say about Mpumalanga, I quote, I am quoting so that those who will come from, after me, who are from the opposition, when they speak, they should relate their argument in terms of the facts, because I am now quoting a factual occurrence. I quote, I wish to commend all provincial commissioners for the significant reduction in the number of priority crimes during this reporting period. In particular, Mpumalanga province, led by Lieutenant General Daphne Manamela. The Honorable Minister continues to say, the Mpumalanga province recorded a decrease in all contact crime, such as sexual offenses, attempted murder, assault, common robbery with aggravating circumstances. Allow me to highlight some reductions achieved by the Mpumalanga province. The Honorable Minister continues to say, during April and June, Mpumalanga province recorded the following: a 2.5 decrease in the murder cases, a 9.7 drop in sexual offenses, a 33.3% drop in cash in transit, a 23.4% drop in car hijacking. Mpumalanga province owes this reduction to the high police visibility, intelligence operations in crime hot spots. Close quote. That is what the Honorable Minister had to say about Mpumalanga. The above comments by the Minister of Police, Honorable Speaker, gives us courage and comfort and courage to believe that it is possible. We can win the war against drug abuse. We can remove our children from the streets. We can free our children from drug lords. We can make our schools and shops to be safe from drug lords. We can make our towns, villages, and malls to be better and safe places. We can attract investors to our province because it is safe to do business in our province. We can attract tourists to our province because it is safe to spend a holiday in our province. We can do all the above if we acknowledge and accept that we need to work together for the sake of our province, for the sake of our economy, for the sake of our children, and for the sake of our future. Bishop Tutu had this to say, I quote, do your little bit of good where you are, because it is those little bit of good put together that overwhelm the world. Close quote. We therefore urge you to do a little bit of good where you are by working with the police in your province to fight against crime and substance abuse. We urge you to work with your social workers in your municipality to do a little bit of good. We urge you to work with the police in your ward to reach out to the children who have become trapped in drugs by the drug lords. We urge you to work with the police in your streets to do a little bit of good and save the community that has become slaves of the drug lords. South Africa belongs to all its people, and the future of our country is our collective future. Making it work, it's our collective responsibility. We all seek a better future for ourselves.
Your time is up, Honorable Member.
And our children. Honorable Speaker, I thank you. Thank you very much.
Honorable Zandamela, you are given 8 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. The Chief Whip of the ruling party has challenged us. But Chief Whip, we're still not safe because all that you said in your quotes, as I quote, is that there's a decrease. Yes, as much as we agree with you, but the province, we need a crime-free province. Madam Speaker, the devastating effects of poverty, inequality, unemployment, under which the majority of our people live in, represent the greatest challenge in the fight against crime and drug abuse. As a matter of fact, Honorable Speaker, The challenges of unemployment, poverty, inequality are the main reasons why the majority of our people, especially youth, have turned to the life of crime and drug abuse. To escape the harsh reality, Speaker, of these triple challenges, many young people resort to crime and drugs, which most of the time end up being used by drug lords and runners and drug mules to make sure that they gain profit out of it. Mpumalanga Province, Speaker, geographically, it's located and it's a link to our neighboring countries, especially Mozambique, Swaziland. That makes it easy for transiting drugs to our province. Without pointing fingers at anyone, drug trafficking abuse have escalated in recent years, particularly after our democratic elected government in 1994. We were freed from socio-economic and political isolation. Hence, the drug traffickers saw an opportunity to use this opportunity to make sure they traffic drugs to our country. The use of drugs impact negatively to the users, their families and communities. Drugs have serious implications for millions of youth people, sadly contributes to crime, gangsterism, domestic violence, dysfunctional families, verbal, physical, and sexual abuses. It has only a negative impact on the health sector, and families of addicts are placed under significant financial pressure due to the cost as well as the cost of treatments. The emotional and psychological impact on families and the high levels of crime and other social ills have left many communities under a siege. Honorable Speaker, drugs and crime are rapidly eating into the social fiber of our family structures. It is estimated that 1 in every 7 young people in the province are addicted to drugs. To help curb this plan of action, seriously needed to just from political parties, but from community-based organizations, churches, and ordinary citizens. Honorable Speaker, I do, however, believe, that the buck stops with us first as lawmakers. We need to develop strong policies aimed at fighting both crime and the sale of drugs. We also need to educate and create awareness on crime and drug abuse. The Department of Social Development in the province must come up with programs aimed at educating our people, especially the youth, from the dangers of indulging in drugs. Above all, we need to respond to policies and legislations with regard to drugs and organized crime, and to view institutional mechanisms to prevent and manage the drug use. The most powerful weapon in fighting drugs is to reduce the demand and close the market, especially amongst the youth. We have to educate children and the youth to say no to drugs. There's also a huge need for government to consider expanding treatment centers for addicts and to ensure accessibility even in rural areas. Honorable Speaker, crime and drug abuse inflict immeasurable harm, not only our public health and safety, but on our economy as well. Crime and drugs threatens the peaceful development and smooth functioning of our economy as a province and the country as a whole. And therefore, an understanding of the economic cost of drugs abuse is necessary when developing policies. Although accounting for the full real rands and dollars cost of drugs abuse countrywide is challenging analysis, its consequences, understanding the domain aspect will help us gain cleaner picture of the ways in which drug abuse and crime affect our economy. Madam Speaker, I would like to leave this House and the Executive Council in our province with few questions that different departments had to look in these certain things, because we know some of the things are within our municipalities and in our bylaws. We've got a lot of tuck shops that has mushroomed in our communities. Are those tuck shops still being inspected? Are the bylaws in municipalities being applied? Are the tuck shop owners having right papers to operate? Are they randomly being raided to make sure there are no illegal activities within those shops? If we can answer and apply all our bylaws in our communities, the fight against drug abuse can be reduced. I thank you.
Honorable Hlophe, you're given 5 minutes.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, it's an honour for me to speak on behalf of the Democratic Alliance on this very sensitive topic. Drug syndicates and related increasing crime in Mpumalanga is such that it tears through the very morale of our family structures, and because of this, it destroys hundreds and possibly even thousands of families throughout the province. Honourable Speaker, if we look at our province and we look at the roads going through our province, the N4, the N11, the N12, the province is perfectly situated to bring in drugs from neighbouring countries and to move these drugs to the centres in Gauteng, even down to Cape Town with the N1, down to KwaZulu-Natal on the N11. There is no doubt or dispute about the fact that the province is ideally situated for drug pushers and people that move drugs. Honourable Speaker, for a moment, I just want to use eMalahleni as a case study, and in particular Witbank as town. You would find this town was reported to be the second highest drug capital in the province in recent times, and this coincides with the amount of theft, house and business robberies as well as murders being reported until today. In the 2021-2022 crime stats, which was released, reveals the negative effects of drugs and drug syndicates in our towns, and Witbank is ranked as follows. Firstly, it was 8th out of the top 30 stations in our country for robberies and non-residential premises. It was 11th out of the top 30 stations in our country for community serious crimes, and 17 community serious crimes, as 1,589 cases were reported. And thirdly, it was 17th out of the top 30 stations in the country for robberies with aggravated circumstances. This precinct also reported an increase in house robberies for house robberies as a daily occurrence for the time that I mentioned. Honourable Speaker, this is the lives of our residents in our towns, which are plagued by drug abuse and drug syndicates, and much more is experienced by the families of those who are addicted to drugs. In Witbank, the majority of residents in the area believe that Hlophe is one of the reasons behind the soaring burglaries and other common theft. Other serious drugs which pass through include, but is not limited to, heroin, tick, and cocaine. Honourable Speaker, the related crime in many parts of our province is detrimental to our provincial economy, because who would want to invest in infrastructure in a town that experiences daily theft and in a town where people do not work because of their reliance to drugs? Honourable Speaker, we can debate the impact of drugs as suggested by the Chief Whip, but I think we can concur that it's real and it has a real impact on our families and their lives. Honourable Speaker, through you, Honourable Chief Whip, we can collaborate beyond political ideologies, and we can try to fix this, but the question is, how do we do that? Firstly, Honourable Speaker, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can go and have a look at the Western Cape, who's got a comprehensive plan to fix drug and drug abuse. But, Honourable MEC, I'm happy to tell you today that actually yesterday, the government of Gauteng, which is not run by the DA, launched a program, and they've already got 7,000 volunteers that are going to go for drug rehabilitation. And that just shows what can happen if a government puts money behind their rehabilitation centres and wants to make a difference. Honourable Speaker, there's a few things we need to do. Firstly, we need to look at our policing. There needs to be a specialized unit that looks at drug and drugs abuse. Probably it can be called a narcotics unit. These members of this unit will have specialized training, specialized equipment, and a specialized budget to sort out the main people in the distribution of drugs. Further to that, Honourable Speaker, it's very important that we have rehabilitation centres that work, that understand drug abuse and that understand how we can, how you should move forward. It has been proven by many studies that ex-drug addicts are the best to counsel other drug addicts. And the problem with drug addicts are if they come out of rehabilitation, they have nowhere to go. So if we as government can put money behind a program where we can actually use them as counselors in our own rehabilitation centers, then we will have a better proposition of success. After they have been counselors, there will be businesses that will go into a partnership with government to provide work opportunities for these people, to release them in a slow and small way into society. And after that, they can go into wider society, have the confidence, and know that they have beaten this drugs and the animal of drug abuse. Honourable Speaker, I'll finish up by saying that we can collaborate behind political ideologies, and as government, we need to make a plan. Thank you.
Honorable Lachminarain, you are given 7 minutes.
Madam Speaker, Honorable Makosazana Masilela, Honorable Premier Mary Fiwe Msweni Tsipane, members of the Executive Council, members of Mpumalanga Provincial Legislature, the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, Chief Whip of Opposition Parties, officials and staff, distinguished guests in attendance today, I greet you all, Sanbonani. Honorable Speaker, allow me to convey my appreciation to form part of this important debate on the impact of drugs and crime in the province and its economy. We have witnessed criminal activities taking place in our province during the past year, so many that the time allocated to speak about it is not sufficient, which is in its nature very alarming. We have witnessed the Department of Safety and Security conduct numerous law enforcement operations across the province in the wee hours of the morning, which have yielded positive results. I wish to thank the Honorable MEC for his leadership and dedication in curbing criminal activities within our beloved province. The despairing reality that we face, Honorable Speaker, is that the positive results that the South African Police Service strive for are often unnoticed due to the justice system not enforcing stronger laws to attend to the issues of crime. As honorable members of the House, we have the capacity to enforce the above-mentioned laws. Therefore, our mitigation to the issues of crime, drugs, gender-based violence, and femicide should not be responses that an ordinary citizen can effect. This calls for extraordinary measures, and as such, we should look at the implementation of legislation and prescripts that target these areas directly. Honorable Speaker, we have seen arrests made by SAPs in cases involving, but not limited to, rape, drugs, murder, and GBVF. Only for these cases to find expression in the court of law with a bail application being granted in favor of the offender, allowing them back into the respective communities and the broader society to commit the very same crime again. For instance, the gruesome tragedy of 4-year-old Bokapupu from Ekurhuleni, who was kidnapped, raped, murdered, and her corpse tampered with by a 28-year-old man who was on bail for charges of raping a 9-year-old child when he allegedly committed this crime. I call for consequence measures, measures that make sure that offenders fear the consequences of the actions they take. It should be that we set aside our political differences in this House, irrespective of what political party we are from, and join hands to find a meaningful, long-term measure that attend to these issues. Without reflecting too much on consequent measures, let us also venture into preventive measures and search deeper to the reason why crime has increased so drastically. A study has shown that the rate of criminal activities shows connection to the rate of unemployment and poverty in our country. Whereas crimes such as murder and rape cannot be directly linked to unemployment, but to social and psychological issues. Mpumalanga is the entry point of neighboring countries such as Mozambique and Swaziland. For notorious serial rapists, drug smugglers, and armed robbers like the late Ananias Mate, known as the Houdini Man, not to thrive, a need to strengthen the border entry should be a priority. This will ensure that we have control of not only who comes into our province, but what items they bring in. Strengthening our border gates and controlling access needs us to think about the security measures we can adopt and implement to mitigate these issues. This will include upgrading our systems that we have been using for centuries to more modernized systems, which will recognize and identify an individual by their own unique fingerprint. The identity through face recognition and fingerprint DNA of an individual intending to enter the country can alert authorities if the individual is wanted for a crime elsewhere. We cannot be using outdated methods and expect progressive results. To deal with the issue of drugs and substance abuse, we need to look thoroughly into the root causes. Often users indicate that drugs or substance abuse are a form of escape from their respective realities. Others simply have FOMO, or fear of missing out, thus being peer pressured into substance use as a once-off experience which later becomes an addiction. Upon closer inspection, studies have shown that a person's lifestyle, social background, and societal pressure makes them believe that the outlook of their current situation is viable when they are under the influence of these substances. Routine activities and programs should be introduced in our communities to keep citizens busy with meaningful ways of working for the betterment of themselves. These can include business-related workshops, sport tournaments, arts and culture drives, and educational information sessions on available career opportunities. Making an impact starts with us, honorable members. Each and every one of us has a pivotal role to play in making a difference through lobbying the proposed laws or simply touching the lives of ordinary people we meet each and every day. As the South African saying goes, Muntu ngumuntu ngabantu. I am because you are. Ngiyabonga.
Honorable Weber, you are given 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I really believe that the Honourable MEC is trying his best to restore law and order in our province. Unfortunately, I'm worried about the situation, specifically referring to what happened in my hometown at the Mkhone municipality. Sikuphi manje? Umuntu ulandelwa njengenyamazane, udutshulwa ngathi uyinja. Siyakuvuma inhloko. Siyakuvuma inhloko. Ngiyakhala, ngiyabakhalela laba bakhona ngoba lento yenzekile ayingiphathi kahle. Kodwa ake siqhele lapha, ake siye kulezi zinto zeinsango nazonke lezi zinto. Awuhambe uye lapha lapha ngiphuma khona ephoza nalapha ethanda ukukhanya. Uzayithola izinsimi ezinensango. Ile nsango ihlakaniphile, ubukhula kuyahlakulelwa, zithola nomanyola, ziyaniselwa. Hey kuhle bayayibhema. Kodwa mawuya lapha kulezi ingane, laba bantu labafundisa lezi ingane ukuthi babhema insango, baphuma eceleni. Baphuma eceleni yibo labafuna ukuthi sibalandele. Mhlonishwa, ake sibambisane izandla lapha. Ukuthi laba bantu laba baphuma eceleni lapha abafundisa ingane ukuganga, funa ukuthi sibathole bona. Sibashwile kahle ukuthi bangaphinde babuye lapha emhlabeni wakithi. Siyabonga hlala.
Honorable Sithole, you are given 3 minutes.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and greetings to the House once again. Honourable Speaker, it is really great honour that the Chief Whip of the Majority brought this sensitive subject to be discussed today. However, may I remind him and the House that, you can only rehabilitate a drug addict if they admit that they have a problem. If this government is not willing to learn from others, then they do not admit that we have a problem. It really doesn't matter, as he said. Let's think beyond our political ideologies. If there is something that another province is doing that is working, why don't we look at it and learn and use it to our own advantage in the province? Drug abuse, drug syndicates, and related crimes affect us all, and the available solutions are out there. They just need a willing government to implement them. Drug-related crimes are a serious issue which is tormenting a lot of our residents across the province, referring specifically to places like Witbank and Steve Tshwete. And knowing that this problem has been going on for a very long time, we could have done more to curb this issue. Honorable Speaker, we need strong police presence. MECs like Honorable Shongwe can do their best to fight crime, but if we don't deal with the root cause, which is the drug abuse, the alcohol abuse, and other related substances, then we are working backwards. We are actually making his job difficult because he is dealing with the results of what we are not fixing. Regular raids and strong police visibility on the N4, as this will reduce the passage of drugs into and out of our towns within the N4, Emalahleni and Steve Tshwete itself. Honorable Speaker, these places suffer profusely from related crimes, as my colleague has already mentioned the statistics that shows that we have a problem. If you look at the national statistics, Forsman is the highest place where criminal activity takes place in South Africa. That should tell us something. And if we are still not willing to learn from provinces where they have implemented things that are working, we will continue to work backwards, and this thing will continue to torment us. Honorable Speaker, it is a fact that this government hasn't built enough rehabilitation centers, especially those that take the drug addicts in. And if we don't do that as well, we are also not helping. If you look at the waiting list at a Sortfontein Drug Rehabilitation Center, you will cry tears because they go back to the very same drug environment because government can help them. Since the dawn of democracy, how many drug rehabilitation centers have we built? Honorable Speaker, if we are going to take this matter seriously, let's learn to learn from others. I thank you.
Honorable Shongwe, you're given 7 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Let me greet all protocols and zoom straight to the debate, Honourable Speaker. I think the motion raised by the Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party is a very important one. Is a societal matter. We need all of us to bring our heads together, and as I've listened to anyone who debated here, there's no one who is talking anything different from what the government of the ANC is doing, except to say we need to do more. I must say, Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party, we appreciate this kind of debate because the issue of drug abuse is a societal matter. The people who are behind this, I think ourselves as responsible parents, we must make sure that all of us sitting here, when we go back to our different homes, we make sure that our children, our kids, we are fully responsible for parenting behind them. It is very much important. Ngifuna ukusho-ke Mama Somlomo ukuthi ubaba uZandamela naye ukhulumile akaphumanga eceleni. Ngiyaqala ukubona laba ama-overall abovu bakhuluma namohla bakhuluma into yaphambili. Uma bangaqhubeka bayibambe lapho sibambisane ngoba lento yama-drugs nayo yonke lento ekhona la yinto esihlupha sonke, akusiyo into yamaphoyisa no-MEC we-Community Safety Security and Liaison kuphela. Yinto ekufanele sazi ukuthi isuka kuphi. Ngizwile abanye bakhuluma ukuthi indeed ukuthi thina eziMpumalanga sibodarisha neMozambique and Swaziland kungokunye kwama-contributing factors ukuthi lento yama-drugs and everything ingene provinsini yethu. Kuyiqiniso lelo enganakuphikiswa futhi. Ngike ngahamba ngaya around the border lines laphayana. Ama-border lines wethu awekho up to scratch. Abantu bayangena up and down baletha izinto zingekho emthethweni la Mpumalanga, and eventually zitholakala sezikwamanye ama-provinces. So kubaluleke kakhulu-ke ukuthi Honourable Chief Whip uma sibuka le ndaba yama-drugs na-abuse yakhona sibuke ukuthi singalekelela kangakanani all stakeholders, onke ama-departments abambisane. I-Department of South African Defence Force yenze sure ukuthi ama-borders are properly manned. And then thina-ke namaphoyisa abobaba ubheka icele, we make sure ukuthi okungenayo okungekho emthethweni siyakulandela sikubeka endaweni yako futhi uma ngabe kufanele. Akukho-ke i-tuck shop la kule Mpumalanga esingangeni kiyo ukuyosesha ukuthi kuthengisa lokho kufanele yini ngaphakathi. Baningi-ke bakhona ababoshiwe, baningi futhi emathaveni ababoshiwe, baningi nasemakhaya ababoshiwe abasebenzisa idakamizwa nabadayisela abantwana bethu. The only challenge, Honorable Speaker and members, ukuthi i-drug efanana nenyawupe, ake ngisho namhlanje siphelele sibaningi, ekhotho ayideclaranga njenge-drug leyanto. Ungambopha umuntu obhema inyawupe manje, kodwa uma uya naye ekhotho uzofika phume ngoba ayikho into esho ukuthi ideclariwe or icategorize as i-drug lento yenyawupe. Okwethu esikwenzayo-ke ukuthi sizame ukulungisa leyo nto at the very same point la sibathola khona siyi-destroye siyilahle. Kubaluleke kakhulu-ke mhlonishwa Hlophe ukuthi uma ukhuluma ngendaba ye-drug abuse nama-drugs and everything else, uma uthi si-compare iMpumalanga ne-Western Cape, uphinde ucabange futhi uvume ukuthi i-Mitchells Plain in the country number 1 ngokubulala kwabantu nokudliwa kwama-drugs nokugwazwa kwabantu in the country. So kusho ukuthi uma ngabe kufanele sifunde e-Western Cape, kusho ukuthi kufanele sifunde kubulala abantu nokudla ama-drugs, of which angeke ke sikwenze lokho. Thine and after i-Western Cape, indawo elandelayo ngokubulawa kwabantu ikwaMashu e-KZN, if you want to know the real statistics of this country. So iMpumalanga is not at that level. So ungafunike ukusicompare ne-Western Cape, asifuni kuyobulala abantu, asifuni kuyofundisa abantu ama-drugs njengoba kwenzeka e-Western Cape. Kubaluleke kakhulu-ke ukuthi Babu Webber siyibuke lento yaseMkhondo. Yinto embi kakhulu leyo. I think nabahlonishwa ubabonile be-leading party bakushayela izandla uma uyohlala phansi. Ukhulume into efanele sibambisane kulwa nayo. Leyanto yenzeke lapha eMkhondo nge-16 kule nyanga sizobe silontsha lapha eMkhondo. The reason why sikhethe uMkhondo kuyolontsha i-16 days of activism, it is because of the very same identification of issues that you have raised. We are going there, we will launch the 16 days of activism, and then we are going to have a program. And I will invite you and other members of the opposition party. Let's join hands, sihambe siyobambisana lapha, sisebenze ukulwisana nalo. La uthi khona ihlanyelwe khona yanisela, nguwozayo ngikhomba khona ukuze sikwazi ukuthi sidile ngabo. Ngiyabonga.
Now the question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion as tabled by Honorable Mlombo. Agreed to? So agreed. There is another formal motion on the order paper in the name of the Honorable W.L. Webber, and I have a speaker's list in front of me. I will call upon the Honorable Webber, and you are given 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, you will recall then when I gave notice of this motion, I mentioned the case of a pregnant woman who went to a clinic. She was referred to a hospital, but when she arrived at the hospital, the child within her was already dead. Then it took another 24 hours before a formal induction was done. And the problem there was that there was only one doctor on duty on that day, which is an alarming situation. This woman was pregnant on 35 weeks already. But the problem we have here, which I want to highlight, is the shortage of medical staff at our hospitals. And I want to refer to the current position available positions in the department according to the 2021 and 2022 annual report. There are 106 permanent medical practitioners where the position is available, but we do not have the staff. 406 permanent professional nurses, 124 permanent staff and pupil nurses, 62 permanent student nurses. The current contingent of liability lawsuits against the department is 10.2 billion, the third highest in the country, of which medical negligence amounts to more than 9.9 billion over the past 10 years. This is an alarming situation. On top of that, there is no permanent head of the department for more than 6 months now. Now, Madam Speaker, against this background, the governing party is considering the national health insurance system. Do you really believe that if we are against it, do you really believe that we criticize this intention because it's not possible to do that we do not have the well-being of our people at heart? Do you really believe that? No, Madam Speaker. I want to give this House the assurance that we also, from the opposition benches, care about the well-being of our people. But we believe that that plan is not able to be fulfilled. I believe that we must not take the whole country into a situation where we have this type of happenings like happened to this woman, where her life was at risk, but there was no staff to assist her. Madam Speaker, I plead with the Honourable MEC to have a decent look at this. We have a problem in our medical system. It's something that was not, it did not happen recently. It's a long-term thing. And we want to support the MEC in whatever she tries to do to rectify the situation. But I must emphasize that we do have a problem here and it needs attention. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Msibi, you are given 8 minutes.
Thank you very much once more for the opportunity, Madam Speaker. I will also protocol, as my colleagues have greeted all honourable members and the members of the public. Madam Speaker, we are going to open our debate by quoting the anti-colonialist, nationalist and political atheist Mahatma Gandhi, when he once asserted, I quote, "The measure of a country's greatness should be based on how it takes care of its most vulnerable population." In the context of South Africa, this could be the most relevant parameter for the success of our government, considering our history and background. The National Democratic Revolution identifies the most vulnerable population in South Africa as the motive forces, the poor and the working class, most of whom are black in general and African in particular. On health, Madam Speaker, allow me to single out the Department of Health on its role in lifting the medical burdens of the most vulnerable within our population. On the Ngoma Forum, Madam Speaker, it's a joint structure with personnel from Department of COGTA and Department of Health and SAPS. All legal recognized initiation schools have medical personnel posted to examine initiates upon completion of the ritual. There are unfortunate cases, Madam Speaker, where the parent of a child will explicitly state that their child shall not be handled by any medical personnel, and that has caused serious medical problems for those initiates, including fatalities. The most recent Ngoma season has claimed the 19 lives of initiates. This is serious, exponentially high, considering that in 2019, the province only recorded a single fatality. There were 18 fatalities in Kangala district and 1 at Ehlanzeni. The fatalities are credited to bleeding, chronic illness, dizziness, shortage of breath, and other causes. However, most of these fatalities were avoidable and only happened as a result of the initiates not being checked by medical personnel due to parental rights to waiver the medical practitioners on behalf of their children, as we've mentioned earlier. Madam Speaker, we therefore humbly request that parents taking their children to initiation school should ensure that their children are examined by qualified medical practitioners that are dispatched by the Ingoma Forum. We further want to appreciate the various tribal houses and traditional leadership for the effort they contribute in the attempts of ensuring fatality-free Ingoma season. Without Abondabezita, the number of fatalities have been exponentially high. Madam Speaker, before I conclude, allow me to request the same effort to be put by medical team and Department of Cocta as well in the rainy seasons and disaster unit might be required. May we approach it with the same vigor and the energy as we approach the initiation school. In conclusion, the longest-serving president of the ANC, Comrade President General Oliver Tambo, once said, I quote, "The children of any nation are its future. A country, a movement, a person who does not value its youth does not deserve its future." It is children who mostly lose their lives during initiation season. It is moral and political obligation to ensure their safety while pursuing their passage to manhood. Madam Speaker and every member, we thank you for the opportunity.
Honorable Sithole, you are given 5 minutes.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and greetings to the House once more. Honourable Speaker, there's no tragedy in life like the death of a child. Things never get back to the way they were. The DA mourns with this mother, as well as thousands of mothers, fathers, and children in Mpumalanga who have to leave our hospitals without what would have been their bundle of joy. Honourable Speaker, Mpumalanga Health Department is currently using an organogram that was last approved in 2010 when the population was about 3.6 million people. And back then, the department employed about 37,000 healthcare practitioners. 12 years later, the population has increased substantially to about 4.8 million residents, and the department now only employs a mere 22,303 healthcare practitioners, of which 6,344 were appointed dubiously. Honourable Speaker, it doesn't take a doctor or a specialist to realize that the population has grown exponentially, yet our medical staff has decreased by 49% over the same period. The shortage of senior medical staff is evident with the maternal mortality rate, which continues to skyrocket. When our women are giving birth in our hospitals, they don't go home with their loved ones. The babies are dying. In 2021-22 annual report, the report of the department reported 361 deaths per thousand for tertiary hospitals and 277.1 per thousand in regional hospitals. That is a high number. Think of black bodies that you can put in this room and think how many mothers lost their babies while giving birth at our hospitals. Honourable Speaker, the reason given in the annual report of the department is exactly where the biggest problem is, as the department blames the very same mothers for late presentation. This was the reason that was given to the portfolio committee. It does boggle your mind whether they even apply their mind or they are willing to fix these problems or they are continue to blame the patients. Yet in the actual hospitals, staff shortages, staff attitude, long waiting times, and shortage of medication is the order of the day, and the department is not willing to deal with that. Honourable Speaker, unfortunately, the Department of Health in Mpumalanga doesn't have a political principal or MEC. They have a spin doctor who is determined to spin stories so that the narrative puts the department in a good light, which is far removed from the reality on the ground. At this stage, Honourable Speaker, who needs doctors if there's a spin doctor in the house? Honourable Speaker, it is said that families of patients have to resort to medical negligence claims to get the MEC and department officials to realize that there is a humanitarian crisis in our hospitals, but yet no one is prepared to investigate, but rather waste millions on legal fees. Honourable Speaker, the Mpumalanga Department of Health currently has a 9.5 billion bill of medical negligence cases. Just in the last financial year, they were ordered to pay over 839 million on medical negligence. That money could have employed 1,300 extra doctors or 2,600 nurses, or even bought the much-needed ambulances that our provinces need so desperately. Half of our ambulances are always either in the workshop to be fixed or too old to operate, and people die while waiting for an ambulance in this province. While tabling her budget speech earlier this year in August, right in this August House, the spin doctor said the department is planning to procure 10 new ambulances this financial year. Just imagine the population as you compare it with the ambulances and tell me if that is normal. Honorable Speaker, ask yourself, why is the department only measuring the emergency calls that they have responded to?
Can you please take a seat?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Mlombo.
Honorable Speaker, can we humbly request the Honorable Member to withdraw the name spin doctor, because the Honorable MEC is not a spin doctor.
Okay.
So can she humbly be requested to withdraw that?
I withdraw calling Honorable MEC Manzini spin doctor. Honorable Speaker, ask yourself, why is the department only measuring the emergency calls that they responded to, so that the spin doctor, so that Honorable Manzini can spin the story and say the department has achieved 100% of its target on emergency medical services, rural and urban, while the department failed to respond to hundreds of emergency calls. But no, they can't record that, because that you can't spin to make yourself look good. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, it is clear that the Department of Health needs to start looking more intensely at the root causes instead of trying to spin lies and stories to paint a pretty picture, as this does not bring mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, sons, daughters that have lost their lives in our hospitals. I thank you.
Honorable Mukabela, you are given 8 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, our country is well known for having a progressive constitution with strong protective of human rights and of the rights of all its citizens to access quality healthcare delivery. However, challenges in the delivery of quality healthcare leaves a bitter pill to swallow. Madam Speaker, inasmuch as we despise our oppressors and what they did to us, but when one compares the current state of our public healthcare system with the one the apartheid government had imposed to all former Bantustans, one will easily chose the apartheid healthcare system. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, sad but true, and I am not saying this fact because we are on the opposition benches, but because it is the reality of our people, especially the poor and marginalized, have to live with every day. Our healthcare system is ruined and in serious need of repair. In short, our healthcare system is in the ICU and needs serious attention. There is an overwhelming evidence that the quality of healthcare in the country as a whole, and this province in particular, has been compromised by various challenges, such as corruption, lack of resources, management of leadership, which all impact negatively on healthcare quality. Above all, Honorable Speaker, the biggest challenge the healthcare system is in critical condition is due to lack of political will. Madam Speaker, as early as 2004, some 10 years into democracy, there were already indications that revealed that services in public health institutions were nonetheless failing to meet basic standards of care and patient expectations. But since then, there has never been a clearer and decisive political will from the ruling party to help improve the healthcare system until the situation worsened to a point where it totally collapsed. Let us not beat around the bush and treat the MEC responsible for this department with kids' gloves. The reality here is that there is no longer a public healthcare system. The story of the Masoi woman who lost a baby due to hospital negligence, as alluded by the EFF, by the Freedom Front Plus, is one of many sad stories and reality that our people are subjected to daily. The people's poet Mzwakhe Mbuli once said, I open quote, "I have never seen women of other races giving birth under the trees, except my race. Impilo injani lena, ayikho mnandi," I close quote. There has been a number of reports, complaints, and public outcry, which were all well documented in the media spaces. Other incidents reported where patients would develop complications and in some cases died because they were turned away from the public healthcare facility or denied access to healthcare services. Honorable Speaker, challenges facing the healthcare system in Mpumalanga include the unequal distribution of resources, management and leadership crisis, increased disease burden, and pull and push factors and slow progress in restructuring the healthcare system, prolonged waiting time because of shortage of human resources, adverse events, poor hygiene and poor infection control measures, increased litigation because of avoidable errors, shortage of resources in medicine and equipment and poor record keeping. Due to all these factors faced by our already crippled healthcare system, there has been a proliferation of medical negligence litigation against the Department of Health, leading to large payouts which have put further strains on the health budget. The former Health Minister, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, described these claims as reaching crisis level. In his own words, he said, I open quote, "The nature of the crisis is that our country is experiencing a very sharp increase, actually an explosion in medical malpractice litigation, which is not in keeping with generally known trends of negligence or malpractice," I close quote. Honorable Speaker, again, there is enough tangible evidence that there is serious lack of political will. For starters, the health fraternity is one of the most critical departments, but yet the department is currently run without an HOD, hospitals are run without CEOs, and clinics are run without experienced leadership, which then creates a number of challenges ranging from staff attitude to lack of services. The South African Nursing Council is on record saying that there is a rise in misconduct cases against nurses, which indicates that the rights of both patients and families are being violated daily. Secondly, poor record keeping in all our public healthcare facilities cause unnecessary delays for patients. Sometimes patients' files get missing or lost, and instead of healthcare workers explaining this to the patient, they simply let the patient wait. In worst scenarios, the medical history of the patient is lost, which can create further complications leading to incorrect diagnosis and, in some cases, death of the patient. Inasmuch as we understand that the COVID-19 pandemic has had a negative impact in our economy, but when was the last time the department bought new ambulances to increase on the already existing fleet? We recently learned from the media that healthcare users would depend on ambulances, make do with only 58 of 98 ambulances that are in working conditions throughout the province. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, let me hasten to say that all the challenges within our public healthcare system, which at the end of the day results to multi-million lawsuits, are as a result of lack of political will from the side of the ruling party. Madam Speaker, in our EFF 7 cardinal pillars, we talk about free quality healthcare service, and we are saying in order to achieve this, there must be a political willingness that will translate to staff morale and attitudes toward patients. But just like our communities have lost confidence in the healthcare system, we too have accepted that they will have to wait until the EFF take over the affairs of this country and province to get quality healthcare services. I thank you.
Honorable Ngomane, you are given 8 minutes.
Speaker, the Honorable Premier, members of the Executive Council, members of the Legislature, invited guests, all protocol observed. We gladly welcome the debate on hospital services as it is aimed at identifying wrongs and implement measures as at improving our health system. Section 27 of the Constitution provides that, open quote, everyone has a right to have access to health care services, including reproductive health care, The state must take responsible legislative and other measures within its available resources to achieve the progressive realization of each of these rights, close quotes. The ANC-led government is committed to work within the provisions of Section 27 of our Constitution with the limited resources at its disposal. Speaker, due to global economic distress, there has been some budget cuts in various departments. Department of Health has not been spared of that reality. It is for that reason that only those critical posts which are assisting that particular department, which were prioritized, were realized. On the visit by the committee in Kangala, we noted that Gwamhlanga Hospital is overburdened due to the population growth, rapid growth of the population, and the migration of people from other provinces to that particular area because of development of Moloto corridor. Same happened in the Wheatbank Hospital, which we also visited as a committee, and all the recommendations taken by the committee, the department managed to assist and invited national department to intervene. Something is happening in that particular hospital. We have engaged provincial treasury to allocate additional budget to cater for the challenges identified in all visited hospitals in the province, which we think something is happening. In the province, the department has made some strides in improving our healthcare system by opening a pediatric ward at Hlophe Ferreira Hospital and appointing a dedicated pediatric surgeon for the new ward. We are seeing progress in this regard. Thank you. The department is trying its level best. The department has also appointed malaria auxiliary services officers in those hotspot areas for malaria, as it is now peak season for malaria. Honorable Speaker, we appreciate the motion tabled by Honorable Weber as it strengthens our mandate of being the eyes and the ears of our citizens. However, we want to indicate that the information gathered revealed that when the mother arrived at Temba Hospital and upon examination, the fetus had already died. We apologize for that, but definitely there's nothing which the hospital was going to do, because the fetus had already died, or maybe in the clinic something was supposed to happen, but we apologize for that. Speaker, we need to look at only. We don't want to look only the opposition, like Honorable Weber was saying. We don't want you. We invite you to look to the positive which are done by the department, not only the negatives. As far as we are concerned, we think the department is doing its best, and improvements are written. The department has sustained an unqualified audit performance for 3 consecutive years under the stewardship of Honorable MEC Manzini, and we congratulate her for guiding that particular department very well. The department is in a process of putting measures in place to tackle litigations, as you have indicated that the litigations are an issue to be attended to. The department has put some measures to deal with the litigation. Our research finding paints a positive picture going forward. Definitely, according to us, what is written before us, we see progress in that particular department, but definitely we want to invite all opposition parties to contribute even in the portfolio committee, facing the positive signs which are going to assist our people in the province. I must thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Hlophe, you are given 3 minutes.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, this department is really in a dire state, and despite what members on the other side of this House has got to say, all evidence shows that things are not going well. Honourable Ngumane, through you, Honourable Speaker, I'm trying to look for those the light points that you just spoke about, but I'm just not seeing them. You cannot speak about budget cuts, but then speak about litigation and speak about corruption in the same department, and then say things are going better. I've been a member of this House for a few years now, and we've always been saying it's going to go better with the litigation and it's going to go better with the charges against the department, but nothing is happening. Which just shows me, Honourable Speaker, that there's no political will to fix it. Honourable Speaker, it's been reported that 9 government officials in the Department of Health is currently waiting the outcome of a 58 million rand corruption case. The DA is not hopeful that at all that these officials will be held accountable or that a portion of the money will be recovered. And I'm glad that the MEC is making a note of that, because I want to hear about that. Because you cannot say that we've got limited budget, but then you've got that type of corruption in your department. Honourable Speaker, corruption becomes the norm in the Mpumalanga government departments to a point where we have become desensitized to it. Honourable Speaker, it's well known that the poor pays ultimately for corruption, especially in the case of the people of Bushbuck Ridge that will wait more than 10 years for the new Mapumaleng hospital that is going to be built. This is what the MEC told the people in 2020 during the unveiling of the second and the third phase. Honourable Speaker, unfortunately, the awarding of big infrastructure tenders in Mpumalanga has become a great enterprise for tenderpreneurs being awarded tenders, but then abandon this site once the money dries up. Honourable Speaker, it's very funny how the company building the fresh produce market is also the same company building the Middelburg Hospital. And yet we are surprised that both projects are not completed and plagued with wage disputes. Yet it is the residents of these 2 towns that have to go without medical treatment due to the lack of political will. Honourable Speaker, if we want different results, we need to start doing things differently. The first thing that needs to happen is for the MEC to become serious about healthcare and stop spinning around ANC rhetoric when dealing with healthcare matters. Honourable MEC, you know, we speak about big things like healthcare, but if you look at the hospitals across the province, there's no pride there. Start by just cutting the grass, getting the health personnel to greet people, look like they want to be there and look like they're actually earning their salaries. But because there's no political will, because the superintendents of the hospitals and the CEOs of the hospitals are not proud of what they're doing, why would other healthcare workers, why would you be proud if you work at one of the hospitals in the province? The Mpumalanga government needs to face the reality that this department needs serious rescuing and realignment, and stop hiding behind the empty words of the MEC semantics as the reality of the people of Mpumalanga is dying.
Honourable Mazzini, you are given 8 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Greetings to the Honourable Premier, the Leader of Government Business, the members of the Executive Council, members of the Mpumalanga Legislature, and also DG and HODs. Madam Speaker, greetings to the August House to meet today to deliberate on the hospital services, which is one of our core mandates as the Department of Health. First, it is important to know that the Constitution, as highlighted by Honourable Ngumane, I'm not going to repeat that. This is important because of the very fact that
This mandate is derived from the Freedom Charter, which is the guiding document of the African National Congress. The ANC Freedom Charter states that a preventative health scheme shall be run by the state. Free medical care and hospitalization shall be provided for all, with special care for mothers and young children. Madam Speaker, hospital services in our province have been under severe pressure, especially in the period of 2020-2021, when we're experiencing various waves of the COVID-19, which have to put strain on our services as our people struggle to get beds. This has been an eye-opening as a department that we need to build our capacity to be able to deal with emerging communicable diseases of COVID-19, such as COVID-19. Madam Speaker, this includes, of course, in terms of dealing with the issues, the filling of posts, improving the security of our facility, provision of medicines, reducing of queues, and reducing of turnaround times. This is the key in making sure that we provide quality healthcare services to our people. We have taken a firm stance as a department in making sure that we adhere to the principle of Batupili, in making sure that we put our people first as a government of the people. Thus, in our effort, we are committed to serving our people with humility, respect, compassion, and above all, with utmost care they deserve. This we do to improve the quality of healthcare provision in our hospital and improve the trust amongst our people on the public care system. This is important in making sure that we deliver on our constitutional mandate and the Freedom Charter. Madam Speaker, we note the case raised by Honorable Weber, which involved a loss of unborn baby at Temba Hospital. May the soul of this baby rest in peace. The reason we as department took a stance on Batupili is to ensure quality healthcare services and avoid cases such as the one Honorable Weber raised with us as a department. However, Honorable Weber, the specific case was not reported correctly. As the report tells us, the department should be held accountable for the death of the unborn child. We are in the health and we understand that there is phases of grief which include blaming innocent parties for the loss. The truth of the matter is that it is important for all of us in the House to be bearers of the light to our communities, help the department in the awareness campaign to pregnant women, particularly in rural areas, on the following important health services. That the crucial that all women who are pregnant must attend the antenatal healthcare classes starting as early as before 20 weeks of their pregnancies, to seek early health intervention as soon as one feels that there is not okay and not wait for the following day like our patient did. It is crucial that all pregnant women should learn to do a self-monitoring of fetal movement and kicks and seek medical intervention should there be no fetal movement or less movement than usual. What is vital is that all of us, including women of childbearing age, must have health assessment regularly on general health status, including pap smear, screening of HIV and AIDS, diabetes, hypertension, and other diseases that might affect the pregnancy, leading to stillbirth cases. Madam Speaker, as I'm raising these important areas of concern for all pregnant women, during it was discovered, Honorable Weber, that the mother for whom the complaint was raised arrived at our hospital from a private clinic with a baby already dead, having reported to the private clinic where she went for consultation. And she last felt the movement of the baby the day before the consultation day, which means she last felt the baby kicking on the 21st of October 2022, and only consulted on the 23rd of October to the private clinic, and there was no record of the mother attending to the above mentioned areas. Hence, we emphasized of the areas campaign, and her version of the story is not true of our investigation, and the letter from the private clinic tells a different story altogether. I'm really happy that as a department we are making big strides in addressing the issue of the litigation, because if we had no records to understand that what really happened with this case, we should be facing a litigation. But I can indicate to this House that as a department, we have developed a strategy to address the issue of high litigation in the province. One of the strategies we are implementing is the digitalization of our record, and we started with our Big Five hospital. Temba Hospital is one of them. Unfortunately, the issue of milking the department through false accusation and litigation is going to be a thing of the past, and we want to thank the Honorable Premier that she's supporting us in this regard to make sure that as a department, it's not only happening in the province, They started in other areas, now they've moved to Department of Health. So because we are unable to provide any record, and you must understand that these cases that we're dealing with are cases that happened long time ago, but now, it's only now that they are coming and we are unable to defend ourselves in court because of that. The department wants to humanly provide to assist the patient, as indicated before. We understand that it might have that our client is looking for someone she can blame for less loss, but we are working with the province to make sure that we deal with the matter. Madam Speaker, the Department of Health is committed to maybe in terms of the issues that are raised, we want to agree that as a National Department of Health, we must not look at Department of Health as a matter of Mpumalanga. Has the President convened a Presidential Health Summit, and we have agreed that general in the country, what is good about the ANC government is that where we have a problem, we are able to acknowledge that there's a problem in our health system. But Honorable Webb, you can't raise a problem of a health system across the country and not want to support the NHI. Because the NHI is the only system that we must use to make sure that there is equal distribution of the budget, so that it doesn't matter whether you're Honorable Weber or you're a person from the rural area, all of us should go to government hospitals that should assist us in terms of providing quality services. If you want to see that, go to Harrisband and look at the clinic at Harrisband. There's proper infrastructure because that's where we are piloting NHI. I must take you to Harrisband. There are clinics, the system is there, the security is there, cameras and everything, and also in terms of staff. So, and also Honorable Premier, in terms of your TLP, for the first time in Harrisband, when you go and consult people, they appreciate the services that we are giving. So, but as an ANC, we'll continue through the leadership of the Honorable Premier supporting us as a department to make sure that our people are getting the necessary services. We're not going to come here so spin doctor, so but thing is spin doctor because I will stand for the African National Congress. If you go to the media and say something which is not there, we'll go there and this is what we are doing, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Now the question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion as tabled by Honorable Weber. Agree to? Honorable members, now the question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the motion as tabled by Honorable Weber. So agreed. Orders of the day. The Secretary shall read the first order of the day.
Order number 1, introduction and tabling of Mpumalanga Adjustments, Appropriation Bill 2022.
I now call upon the MEC for Finance, Economic Development and Tourism, the Honorable N.E. Hlophe, to deliver the introductory speech and table the Mpumalanga Adjustments Appropriation Bill 2022.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier, Mayor Philip Tsweni, Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party and Leader of Official Opposition, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Finance, Economic Development and Tourism, Honorable Member of Parliament, Honorable Thomas Bongo and other honorable members present here, colleagues in the Executive Council, honorable members of the Provincial Legislature, members of the Mayoral Committee on Finance, Director General, head officials of Provincial Treasury, and all heads of department, Chairperson of the House of Traditional Leadership, and all members, leadership of the governing party as led by the Provincial Secretary, Comrade Chirwa, and alliance partners, the leadership of business, organized labor, faith-based organization, youth, women formations, and civil society, citizens of Mpumalanga, Lotshani. Honorable Speaker, on the 10th of May 1994, the founding father of our democratic state, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, made a bold commitment on behalf of us to the whole world when he said, and I quote, "We enter into a covenant that we shall build a society in which all South Africans, both black and white, will be able to walk tall without any fear in their hearts, assured of their inalienable rights to human dignity. A rainbow nation at peace with itself and the world," and I close quote. The successive manifesto of the governing party underlined the importance of the universal access to quality health care, building safer communities, and transforming the economy to serve and benefit all our people. Over the past 7 months, Honorable Speaker, the Executive Council and indeed the legislature engaged the communities on service delivery programs. They spoke with clarity and passion about areas where their government should intervene to continue improving their lives. There is no doubt in our minds that more still needs to be done to fully restore the right to human dignity, including the eradication of the legacy of the past that still lingers on today. This budget adjustment talks to some of the needs identified in those engagement with communities. It is a budget that underlies the current economic situation and seeks to unlock the potential of the administration to fast-track and complete commitment made by the Executive Council to the people of Mpumalanga. Cheers, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, on economic landscape and outlook, the recent development in the global environment continue to have a significant impact on the domestic economy. The International Monetary Fund has revised global growth for the 2022 and 2023 downwards, mainly because of the rising inflation, tightening financial condition, and disruption associated with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. At the domestic level, we are also experiencing load shedding, higher fuel and food prices, as well as the high inflation and interest rates, all of which impact negatively on our provincial economy. The National Treasury estimates real economic growth of 1.9% in 2022, down from the 2.1% projected in the budget review in February 2022. Honorable Speaker, Mpumalanga's growth expectations are very much in line with the national growth projections. We expect an annual average growth of 1.6% over the next 3 years. Madam Speaker, despite the low growth, the provincial economy created 114,518 jobs in the first 6 months of 2022. About 85,000 these jobs gains were in the second quarter of this year. The 7.8% employment growth in this quarter was the second highest of the 9 provinces. Despite these gains, in the first part of the year, the employment level in June 2022 was still short of the number employed in the first quarter of 2020 before the lockdown. According to the quarterly labor force survey, the provincial unemployment rate improved from 38.6% in the first quarter to 36.1% in the second quarter of 2022. The unemployment rate of youth, especially amongst the women and people with disability in the province, remains a concern, Honorable Speaker. To reverse this situation, both the public and private sector should support catalytic projects that are growth stimulating and highly labor intensive, with a specific bias to youth, women, and people with disability in the province. The speedy rollout of infrastructure programs, green economy initiative, industrialization through localization, employment stimulus initiative, tourism and agriculture, agro-processing, amongst others, are key to unlocking the economic potential and creating much needed jobs. We will continue to work closely with all social partners in all sectors of economy to change the economic landscape of the province. Chairs. Honorable Speaker, on public procurement, in March this year, we indicated that the National Treasury is working on a new regulation in terms of the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act to address matters that raised and through the Constitutional Court challenge. The new Preferential Procurement Regulation for 2022 have since been promulgated and will come into effect on the 16th of January 2023. The Provincial Treasury will facilitate training to ensure that officials understand and apply the new regulations correctly. We want to assure the public that this provincial government will continue using the state procurement's power to contribute to the structural economic transformation. Let me reiterate, Honorable Speaker, we will continue to use the provincial budget as a tool for the development and participation of previously disadvantaged citizens, the youth, women, as well as the people with disability in the economy. We call on all departments and public entities to fully comply with the legislation on the procurement of goods and services to achieve these developmental goals and prevent unwanted expenditure to ensure that there's value for money. On municipal finance support, Honorable Speaker, municipalities shape the living conditions of our people. They ensure that people have access to clean drinking water, energy, housing, and sanitation. It is not a secret that this sphere of government is experiencing numerous challenges. The provincial government has identified key priority areas and set out specific support activities to return municipalities to financial sustainability. The Provincial Treasury has conducted trainings on a web-enabled system to assist municipalities and municipal entities in implementing actions that prevent financial loss, wastage, and transgressions, which will lead to a significant improvement in financial and performance management. Councillors' induction are underway to foster understanding and appreciation of Section 139 of the Municipal Finance Management Act, which deals with recovery plan, especially among the 5 distressed municipalities in the province. We want to emphasize that, Honorable Speaker, the primary responsibility to implement these recovery plans lies with the municipalities. It is mandatory. We want to continue to provide support to municipalities to strengthen the capacity of the Budget and Treasury's Office and capacitate oversight structures to execute their function effectively and in line with the regulations. On mid-year revenue and expenditure review, Honorable Speaker, the provincial revenue collection is important to augment resources that enable the fulfillment of the state's responsibility to the citizen. As at the end of September 2022, the province has collected 1,047,000 rand against the annual projection of 1,925,000,000 for the current fiscal year, which represent a 54% collected rate. The 3 main sources of own revenue collection were motor vehicle licensing, taxes on gambling, and liquor outlet, including receipts from hospital fees. We will continue to work closely with the revenue generating departments and entities to unlock their potential and assist in preventing leakages in the collection system. Earlier this year, Honorable Speaker, the legislature approved a budget to ensure the continuity of administration, social and economic development programs. I will now indicate the expenditure outcomes. The aggregate spending on the compensation of employees by the departments at the end of September 2022 is 16.4 billion, which is 48.8%, and on goods and services we are accounting for 5.3 billion, which is 41.9% of the budget. We have transferred 3.6 billion, which is 60.2% to various institutions, of which 1.5 billion were directed to schools. The province has also spent 1.3 billion on capital assets, which include the construction and upgrading of roads, hospitals, and schools, as well as the machinery and equipment. Madam Speaker, adjusted fiscal framework. In tabling the medium-term budget policy statement on the 25th of October 2022, the Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Enoch Godongwane, outlined the foundation for post-COVID-19 pandemic recovery and growing a resilient economy that is responsive to the pressing demands on society. The 2022 MTEFs reduces economic and fiscal risk, narrows the budget deficit, and stabilizes debt while proposing measures to enhance economic growth and restore funding for infrastructure and service delivery programs. Over the medium term, the expenditure framework provides for increased spending, especially in education and health. The province received 792.2 million from the national fiscus to cater for wage increases. These funds are allocated only to votes that have shown to be under pressure to date. Other departments are expected to fund the salary increment through reprioritization within their allocated budget. The provincial budget of 2022-2023 financial year will therefore increase by 1,264 from 56,442 million to 57,707 million. Honorable Speaker, on changes to baseline allocation, allow me to outline proposed changes to the baseline allocations of department. Vote 1, Office of the Prim. There is no change in the budget appropriated to the Office of the Premier in March. It remains 377,826,000. Vote 2, Provincial Legislature. The provincial legislature receives 40.9 million for budget pressures on voter education. The budget of the provincial legislature will increase from 371,838,000 to 412,760,000. Vote 3, Provincial Treasury. The provincial treasury's budget is reduced from 566,548,000 to 491,548,000. Vote 4, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. The budget of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs will get a net of 64.1 million, therefore increasing the baseline of the department from 690,284,000 to 754,477,000. Included is the allocation of funds to support the traditional authorities and support to municipalities with fire and disaster services. Vote 5, Agriculture, Rural Development, Land and Environmental Affairs. The budget of the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Land and Environmental Affairs is increased from 1,289 million to 1,338 million. Included in this adjustment are funds of Umkhonto One-Stop Center and transfer from the Department of Economic Development and Tourism towards the Nkomazi SCZ project. Vote 6, Economic Development and Tourism. The budget of the Department of Economic Development and Tourism is reduced from 1,743 million to 1,633 million, and efforts are being made to accelerate projects delivery, especially focusing on the green economy and revitalization of nature reserves. Vote 7, Education. The Department of Education receives an increase of grants amounting to 68.9 million, covering education infrastructure, life skills education, support for learners with intellectual disability and early childhood development programs. To further address challenge of classrooms shortages, 60 million is provided to the mobile classrooms and 22 million is allocated to the Mpumalanga Regional Training Trust. The budget of the department will therefore increase from 24,700,000 24,273,000,000 to 24,863,000,000. On vote 8, the Public Works, Roads and Transport. 92.5 million is added to the baseline of the Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport, thus increase the budget from the 4,993,000,000 to 5,085,000,000. Included in this allocation are funds to address energy challenges across the administration, particularly prioritizing health facilities so that government can continue to function. Vote 9, Community Safety, Security and Liaison. 115.4 million is allocated towards the budget pressure of the current security services. A further 23.8 million is provided for additional security requirements for the Department of Health, Education and Social Services. Accordingly, the budget of the Department of Community Safety, Security and Liaison will increase from 1,584,000,000 to 1,698,000,000. On vote 10, Health, the adjustment bill adds 395.9 million to the baseline of the Department of Health, increasing allocation from 16,824,000,000 to 17,220,000,000 for the year ending 31 March 2023. Vote 11, Culture, Sports and Recreation. The Department of Culture, Sports and Recreation will also see an increase in the budget from 604,141,000 to 638,547,000, mainly to provide mobile libraries and support to the 2023 Netball World Cup Legacy Project. Vote 12, Social Development. The budget of the Department of Social Development decreases from 1,616,000,000 to 1,596,000,000. We call on the implementing agent to assist the department to fast-track infrastructure programs. The Executive Council will be finalizing the discussion on the implementing agents to accelerate infrastructure delivery. Vote 13 on human settlement. The Department of Human Settlement, Honorable Speaker, will receive a total adjustment of 87.3 million to finalize bulk infrastructure projects and continue work on the parliamentary village. This increases the baseline of the department from 1,506,000,000 to 1,594,000,000. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, this budget adjustment should contribute to the more educated and adequate skilled workforce and a healthier citizen with a higher life expectancy. It should support efforts to create an enable environment with improved social and economic infrastructure in our province. The provincial government is continuing to modernize finance-linked system to optimize performance and ensure effective support and delivery across the provincial administration. We therefore appeal to departments and public entities to be efficient in using resources and always focus on areas where the government could make a greatest impact on the society. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Premier for demonstrating substantial leadership throughout the preparation of this adjustment budget. Many thanks to the members of the Budget and Finance Committee, Executive Council for their guidance and support, and thank the chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee on Finance, Economic Development and Tourism for always supporting the work that we do on behalf of the Mpumalanga citizens. I would like to also, Honorable Speaker, thank the Director General for the support and the head official of the Provincial Treasury and all staff in the Provincial Treasury who worked tirelessly in preparing this adjustment budget. Madam Speaker, allow me also to extend my word of gratitude to my family as they are as well present here, Honorable Speaker, and the Office of the MEC in Treasury for their undivided support as we perform the task that is bestowed on us by the glorious movement. Honorable Speaker, I now table the following budget documents for consideration. Honorable Speaker, I table the Provincial Adjustment Appropriation Bill for 2022, the adjusted estimate of the provincial revenue and expenditure for 2022, and provincial adjustment budget speech for 2022. Ngiyathokoza Somlo.
Thank you, Honorable MEC, for the well-delivered speech. The Mpumalanga Adjustments Budget Speech 2022-2023, the electronic copies, the Mpumalanga Adjustments Appropriation Bill 2022, and Mpumalanga Adjustments Estimates of Provincial Revenue and Expenditure for 2022-2023 stand referred to the Portfolio Committee on Premier's Office, Finance, Economic Development and Tourism for consideration and report back to the House. The Secretary shall read the second order of the day.
Order number 2, consideration of reports of the Portfolio Committee on Public Works, Roads and Transport, Community Safety, Security and Liaison. 2.1, oversight visit conducted at Nkomazi Local Municipality, Ehlanzeni District, Road D2952, Masibekela to Tsambokulu, Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport. 2.2, oversight visit conducted at Mpumalanga International Fresh Produce on the 25th of May 2022, Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport.
I now call upon the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Public Works, Roads and Transport, Community Safety, Security and Liaison, Honorable N. Mahlangu, to table these reports.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise on behalf of the Portfolio Committee to request the House to adopt the report as presented.
I am informed that there is no debate on these reports. Now the question before the House is whether we agree to adopt the report as tabled by Honorable Mahlangu. Agreed to? As so agreed. That brings us to the end of today's business. You are all requested to remain standing at your places until the procession has left the chamber. The House is now adjourned until Thursday, the 24th of November, 2022 at 2:15 in this very same chamber.